Recently, I had one of my formal students bring a new friend to meet me, and I love doing that. This woman was a remarkably spiritual person and still curious and open-minded and somewhat skeptical, which is something I like. But at some point, I took her into the part of my office that I do groups in. That's about 25 by 20, something like that. And the room has at this point has 6 professional video cameras in it, along with a lot of lights and so on. And it's actually a very beautiful room, and kind of contrasts with all this technology. But we were talking about it, and she asked me, "What are you doing here?" You know, and it's kind of obvious that I do groups in there, but you know, she wanted to understand what I did with all those cameras. That's a lot of cameras. So I told her about the years that I had started doing groups. Maybe 11 years ago or so, and within that first year that I bought that office and designed it, I built that, began to build that video studio and film and so on. And so within a couple of years, I'd learned enough to film so that I could stand to look at myself on video. I tried to describe something I did with all those cameras, and I said that I use them. One of the things I use them for is something I call layered memory. This is an interesting thing about technology, because sometimes technology, as I have talked about, can reveal what our minds are like, that invisible portion of us that our technology mirrors. But at other times, we can extend the mind with our technology. And so layered memory is an extension of our minds, and it is a way to heal, to help people to grow, to see themselves in a way they would normally never realize. The particular story I told her, there was a woman in her, I believe in her early 40s, and I asked her to come, if she'd like to come up to the front of the room. And this is a teaching group. This is not a therapy group. These are not my patients. These are my formal students in this group. And so, you know, she came up and had no idea what I was going to do, but she was very nervous. And I believe that she had only recently joined the group and had probably never been in front of the room in front of the cameras before. And she began to have an anxiety attack. And she started to say things like, "I am so ugly," and "Oh my God, I'm so fat." And as she was saying these things, of course, my heart's breaking for her. You know, and I'm wanting very much to try to help her. And so I say, "Look, you don't have to be here." And, you know, she tries to stay for a while longer. And within about maybe a minute and a half, I say, "Okay, you know, why don't you sit down? You're really suffering." Okay. So the groups were roughly 5 hours long, which is a lot of video to edit, especially with that many cameras. But in this case, this was just a minute and a half of video. And the point was that the group met at that time once a month. And the next month, when the group came back, I had edited that clip. And I said, to her, "Look, I'd like to show you the clip the whole group was going to see it, but they were all there already. They saw what happened. So we sat in chairs, and I sat right next to her, and I put the clip on. As soon as she saw herself walk up in front of the camera, she started to have a very similar reaction. She's having anxiety and talking about, oh my God, look how fat I am, and I'm so ugly, and these horrible things that she's saying of herself. Look at I'm bald, and things about her hair, and all these things. And so we're all of us in the group trying to comfort her and reassure her. And I'm sitting next to her, and I put my hand on her arm at some point to try to remind her that she's not alone. And soon after that, she's looking at the clip. We had been playing it back now, stopping and playing it back, and stopping and playing it back, and giving her a chance to get her breath in between. And so as it's playing, she smiles suddenly, and she says to me, now realize I'm in the front, I'm on this clip with her, it's just her and I. She says, you're kind of fat. And she laughed, and I laughed, we all laughed. And I know that laughter is the sound of healing. So, now, I may not have mentioned, but I was filming her reaction to watching the film. So the camera is set such that it can have in the frame both her and I and the original clip, which is playing back on a big screen television. And so a month later, the group met again, and I had now edited that little piece of film where she's watching herself and the reaction. I'd edited a couple pieces of it, and now I am, she's being filmed, her reaction is being filmed as she watches the clip, and the clip has her reaction to seeing the film the first time. So, now realize this is 3 layers. There is her original reaction getting in front of the group. There is the watching that clip, and now she's being filmed watching herself watch the clip. Well, so what happens this time? Well, as she's watching herself on the clip, and she's watching her reaction to seeing the clip, seeing herself, she starts to cry. And she starts to say things like, oh my God, how mean I've been to myself all my life. So, if you think about it, we could never do this without this kind of technology. And in fact, I have not seen any other therapists do anything like this. Therapies have been filming people for, many, many decades. But nobody has been filming a person watching the film. I have done it up to 4 layers deep, but 3 seems to be more than enough. And this is a way for a human being to confront visually the thing they're reacting to and the thing that they believe about this. Here is the thing that she's claiming is ugly, and she's seeing herself say it, that it's ugly, Now, when I finished telling the story to my formal student's friend who was visiting, she told me a story. It seems that she's a sculptor. I asked her if it was sculptor or sculptress, and she said either. I'm always worried about offending that way, but she said, that so reminds me of something that that provoked a realization in me. And she said that I believe it was a sculpting class or event or something, and she right on the spot sculpted her friend, who was also there sculpting, I think, and she did a sculpture of him, and she said it came out as a reasonable, good likeness of him. But she took a picture, I believe that's what she told me, she took a picture of him holding the bust. It was a bust, just the shoulders, neck, and head, next to himself. And she said the picture with both him and that sculpture she had done of him, while looking at the sculpture by itself was a reasonably good likeness, she said she was deeply affected by the difference when she saw both together. I was really struck by this because that is, in a way, doing much of the same thing that I was doing in my video studio, trying to get people to see things. And yet, in her case, she saw something that was a universal pattern, far larger than one person's injuries, one person's suffering. She was seeing the difference between what we can make, the realm of this world, and our imitations of what exists in this world, and that the difference is so remarkable no matter what we do. In any event, all I had wanted to do was to, suggest that perhaps you can think of your own ways to use technology where you can extend your own mind. Photographs of photographs of photographs function in some way like mirrors and mirrors and mirrors. And they access a part of us that ordinarily we never can access. So, anyway, I hope you liked my stories today.